What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Love and Rice podcast with your host, Aunt Ma.
I'm your other host, Christina.
Thank you guys who have been listening since we started this podcast. We are on episode, is this episode 24?
I have no idea.
We've done a lot. So if we are on episode 24, we got 24 weeks in. If you guys are new to this channel, make sure to subscribe to Love and Rice podcast on all podcast platforms, all right? We're on Spotify, Amazon, Google, Apple, iHeartRadio. We're also on YouTube where you can watch these videos. And then we also are on social media. We got TikTok and Instagram, Love and Rice Podcast. So please follow, subscribe to all those channels throughout all the platforms. On today's episode, we're going to be talking about when I moved out and when you moved out of your house and about the Asian culture. And I believe that the Asian culture tends to stay home longer than the American culture.
I would probably agree with you because I feel like growing up, we didn't really have any pressure to move out of the house.
That's true.
Yeah, I feel like with Asian families, like we just, I don't know if like it's trying to shelter them or just like wanting them to be home all the time, right? But with other cultures, it's like they kind of just want their kids to move out once they hit like 18 or 21 and stuff.
All right, so something that we hear on TV and in the movies a lot is in the American culture, the parents say, you know what, when you're 18, you're going to move out, you're going to be independent and things like that. You're going to go to college in another state and stuff like that, right? And actually, when I Googled when the average American moves out of their parents' house, it's between age 24 to 27.
Oh, wow.
Not even 18. So I feel like what actually happens in real life compared to what we hear is totally different.
Are these current statistics? Because I feel like...
Yes, they are.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
I feel like it's probably... You know what? I'm actually surprised because I thought it would have been even later because I know people who are like in their 30s maybe and they're still living at home.
In the American culture?
Yeah. Yeah, I would say so.
I think that's more of the Asian culture.
I guess so. Or I mean, it's probably for the people who are still single, not in relationships, that don't date or have kids and stuff like that.
So I don't have any American friends who still live with their parents and they're in their 30s.
Okay. Well, I guess they're more of like acquaintances, but you know, you'll see from their posts and stuff that they're still at home and like living with their mom and stuff. And, yeah.
I see that with a lot of Asians though.
Yeah, that's true actually.
Here's a difference with the Asian culture, right? As you grow older, your parents, they don't really tell you that you need to move out.
Right.
They just say, hey, you want to go to a good college that's close to home, you know?
Yeah.
You want to find a job close to home. And everything's because they're like, because you want to save money.
Yeah, because
right?
I when I was applying for college, like getting ready to graduate from high school,
yeah,
I applied to like San Diego and everything was mostly local though. San Diego was the only one that was kind of further away. But in the end, I think my parents just wanted me to stay closer. And yeah, like what you're saying, you know, in the Asian culture, they usually prefer that you stay home so that you don't have to stress about going to school full time, trying to start working and getting distracted because you have to make rent, trying to move out. And they just like, I guess they just like having you there and knowing that you're safe and that you're coming home every day, you know?
Yeah, I think when I applied for colleges, I was also like Riverside, Irvine, and you know I was living in LA County, right? Cal State LA, and all these schools, and everything was within an hour from home, so you can commute to school, you know. And all the jobs that I found were like within 30 minutes of home, and so I mean, even my parents were like, "Hey, I found a job for you." You know, like go call this person, and it'll be like 15 minutes away from home, things like that. So it's weird. It's like I don't know if it's a comfort thing or they want, I don't know. They just don't push you moving out. They want you to be independent because they want you to go to school, they want you to get a job. But it's like you can come home for dinner every day. They don't, not once do they say you're going to move out.
I think it's probably peace of mind for them too. Because like even for us, like I don't know how it's going to be when the kids go to school, but I don't think I'm ever going to pressure them to move out until they're like old enough where I'm like, okay, I think you need to get your life together. Like, I think it's time to like look for a place to live.
Yeah. And I want to talk about that later on in this podcast about our kids and when we think they're going to move out. But right now, the average American, the reason why they stay home longer than 18 is because of two factors. One is because of college.
Okay. Yep.
Right? Because college is so expensive.
Right.
And two is rent money.
Yes.
Just like what you said. Those are the two factors of why they don't move out at 18 anymore.
Yeah, like even when you're thinking about paying for the expenses for college, right? It's so much. And then if you're talking about like dorming there too, like that's even more money that you would have to put in for it.
Yeah.
So I think like for my parents, they're just like, just stay home. Take our car, drive to school, and then come back home.
So how old were you when you moved out of your house?
I mean, officially moved out. I think
What do you mean officially moved out? You moved out before officially moved out?
Well,
what
okay.
What does that mean?
So I guess for girls, I don't know, it's a little different because I feel like for guys, once they hit a certain age, they're like, all right, I'm out. Like, I want to just be independent. I don't want to live with my parents. I'm going to find my own place. But for me, I was staying home most of the time because I was still going to school.
Yeah.
And then I was working. So I was basically full-time school and then full-time work. So my parents just wanted me to stay home. And then, you know, I would date here and there. And around that time was when I was in a long-term relationship. So that was when I was kind of like staying at their place. But then sometimes I would come back to my parents' house. So it's not so much of like really officially moving out until I met you.
Okay, so at the age of you doing all this, how old were you?
I would say I was in my early to mid-20s.
Whoa.
Yes.
That's a long time.
Yeah.
And so when you started now leaving your house and going to the boys' house and staying with the boys, what did your parents think about that?
So around that time, my parents were really strict, and I was that girl who had like a curfew of 10 p.m. going to college. And that was the main reason why I even got my first cell phone. And it was me borrowing my dad's phone whenever I would go to school, just so that they knew where I was or in case if there was an emergency and stuff
In
like
your
that.
early to mid 20s, you had a curfew.
Yes.
And no phone.
And no phone. I just had the landline, the house phone and stuff. If people wanted to reach me, they had to call me there. But even then, my brothers were filtering my phone calls and stuff, so like I couldn't even use the phone. But
so how did your parents feel when you started staying over at boys' houses?
Well, I think it was because I had this one serious relationship, and that was the longest relationship before you of 3.5 years. And I think in the beginning, I was still kind of there, going back to my parents' house. And then eventually, like they saw that the relationship progressed, and I was still with this person. So obviously, it kind of made sense for them to allow me to stay over at their house more. But they were strict about it. Like they really didn't want me to do it. Like they just wanted me to be home. So
who was the first one to move out of your house?
I honestly can't remember.
Was it you or your brothers?
I think it may have been my brothers. Do you remember? Because when
what? How would I know? I didn't know your brothers back then.
Yeah, I feel like they may have. I feel like they may have already been in Utah when I met you. Possibly.
Yeah, they were.
Yeah. Okay, so they moved out first.
Oh, okay.
And they moved out of state. Yeah.
So how did your parents take all that when your parents were? I mean, when your kids or your brothers moved out?
I think my parents were actually really happy about it because we had a family business in Utah. And that was the main reason why they decided to move out there in the first place. So for them, they're like, okay, well, they didn't really go to college. They didn't get their degrees. What else can they do next? Like, why not go and help the family business and work over there and just see what happens? And if they don't like it, they can come back. So for them, like being the two older brothers, like they're just like, okay, like do this for yourself.
I see the difference. So for them, it was like, start a new life. Let's get something going for you guys.
Yeah.
And for you, it was like you're studying and you have started your new life here. So It's like, where else are you trying to go?
Yeah, exactly.
I get it. Okay.
Yeah, so for them, my parents were happy. They're like, go, like start somewhere. Like we have a place. You can just stay there for now and get adjusted and see what happens,
Okay.
So, yeah.
So how did you feel when you were actually, not at your parents' house anymore? When you were at, going back and forth? Did
it felt nice.
Weird? Oh,
it felt nice because I was always at home. I couldn't go anywhere. Like my parents were so strict, and like even you were surprised, right? They were so strict with me in my like early to mid 20s, and they just had so much control over my life, like. And it was just, I just felt free.
So, so what made you go back home sometimes?
Oh, because like if I would get into a fight in the relationship that I'm in, or if I just miss them and I just wanted to come home and see them, you know? And like if they needed help with stuff, then I would come back and help them. Or my little sister was still at home.
Yeah.
So that was one of the main reasons why I stayed close and why I tried to stay home as much as I could, because my sister was still there.
So at what point was your room still your room, and then they decided to change it?
Huh. Good question. You know, I actually shared that room with my sister.
Okay.
Yeah, so I don't remember when they changed it, but I think it was just more so of like, actually I don't know. I don't know. It stayed like that for a while, I would say.
What is it now?
Right now it's just a guest room.
Okay.
All the rooms
Yeah.
at my parents' house are guest rooms because all the kids moved out.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So, in my family, I was the first one to move out.
And how old
So
were you?
I was 18.
So-
1 week after my 18th birthday, I moved out because I wanted to be independent. I didn't want to stay home because I was, like you said, my parents were kind of controlling. They were very strict. I always had a curfew, or I couldn't be out till like 8 or 9 p.m. I had to be in bed by then. And this is like me being 17 years old, right?
I'm actually surprised about that.
In high school, I could only go to one dance a year, one event a year.
Wow.
Okay, I couldn't go to any more than that.
Even I was able to go to dances. I went to a lot of school dances.
Yeah.
But my parents allowed me to because I was at the school.
Yes. So here's the thing. I think this is what caused me to go buck wild. Is what started everything. You know, the more
I feel
strict my
like-
parents were,
Yeah.
I think at age like 15, 16, I got my first piercings without my parents' consent. I just came home with piercings. And I was like, I'm just going to do what I want, right? I can't do anything else that I want. So I went to the mall and got my ears pierced, right?
How did they react to it?
They didn't like it, but there's nothing they could do about it, right? So I tested it. Like, let's just start getting things over with by doing things that I want, and there's nothing that they can really say about it, right? Or do about it. So even at that age when I was in high school, I think at like 16, 17, it was like I was sneaking out of the house
Oh, wow.
at like 10 p.m. to go hang out with my friends to get boba. Just to do that. I had to sneak out, have someone pick me up down the street in their loud ass rice rocket, right? Because you could hear it if it pulls up to the front of the
Yep,
house.
I remember those days.
So I'm like, dude, go all the way down the street and I'll walk down, and they'll pick me up and we just go to a boba shop and just sit there till like 12 a.m., 1 a.m.
And your parents
we're
never
just
came in
talking.
to check in on you.
No.
Wow.
Only the one time when
You went to the rave.
I went to the rave
Yeah.
and yeah. And then it's funny because after the boba shop, my friends would drop me back off and it'd be loud. And I'm like, hey, drop me off down the street. And I got to walk back. And, so that's how strict my parents were. So the moment I turned 18, I was like, all right, I'm going to get my own place. Not only because I wanted to be able to do things that I wanted to do, which was hang out with friends, meet girls, sometimes go smoke some weed, right? Things like that. And then also because at the time I had so many jobs. So I had college. I was going to Cal Poly Pomona at the time. And then I was joining a frat at the time. And then I was also, I had one job, like it was almost like a full-time job, but it was still part-time. It's just a lot of hours for a part-time job. It was
Yeah.
a desk job. And then I was also selling drugs. And one thing that I learned was that I had to do side jobs like selling drugs to be able to pay for rent and go out with friends and pay for food and stuff. You know what I mean? It wasn't to do more bad stuff.
I think that's probably why parents want to keep their kids home, because they don't want their kids to have to resort to like dealing drugs and stuff just to
Yep.
make rent.
Yeah. So it was hard. It got to the point where I would say now that I look back, moving out so early was a big mistake in my life because it set me back financially.
Yeah.
It probably set me back like 10 years because now I don't have my parents with me. So like now I'm going out and doing all this crazy stuff.
Yeah.
I'm like, instead of going to school, I'm partying 3 times a week. I'm
Yeah.
going to all these clubs. I have a fake ID now. So I'm going to these 21 and over clubs at 18. And then it's and then I get my first tattoo, you know, at 18.
Yeah, I think that's why parents just want to keep their kids home so they can watch them because most
But I
peop-
did it because they, you know, they sheltered me so much. You
True.
can't do this. You can't
I know
do that.
that's true because that's how it was for me too. Because like because I was so sheltered, like I would never be able to sneak out of the house because they would always check in on me.
Right.
So like I would have to like slowly just start making excuses, and like if I want to go to a house party, I'd be like, all right, mom, I'm gonna go on this night run with my friend. I'll be in my running clothes and I'll go into my car, into a friend's car, and then I'll change into normal clothes and like go to a house party and come back. But I always had that curfew. And yeah, like as soon as I was able to get out of the house and I was legal enough to go to like 18 and over clubs or like 21 and over clubs, as long as I went with people who were responsible or that my parents knew, they were okay with it. But even then, like I just wanted to go all out and do all the things I couldn't do, you know?
Right. And so like one of the things is that no matter how old you are, you know what you want, and when you're ready, you're going to get it. Right? So I always knew that I always wanted a tattoo.
Yeah.
Okay. But I think because my parents were so strict was the moment I had freedom, I went out and got it. Right. But I wish that I had a parent where I could talk to them and be like, you know, one day I do want a tattoo, and have understanding parents be like, okay,
Yeah.
now what do you want? Now you need to take the time to think about it and yada, yada, yada. Do you want these small ones? Do you want these big ones? You know, because once you get them, it's life, right? So I got this big ass dragon tattoo that's all over the place. And I wish I had different like mood boards, right? Of like what tattoos on a body would look like, what kind of style you want for your life, right? Now sometimes I think, oh, I got these big ones. What if I ever wanted these like 5 different small ones, and how cool that would be?
Yeah.
You know, like, so having a parents understand that you want something, and then now like, you know, guiding them through the process of like, okay, is this the right decision? Or, you know, what kind do you want? Things like that. And I wish I had that guidance.
And I feel like that's why we are the way that we are with the kids, because we want them to have that open communication with us, because I feel like we both didn't have that. Like with our parents in the Asian culture, it's like whatever they say goes, like there's no explanation.
Right. It's like whatever your kids want, they're going to get it.
Yeah.
Right? They want to pierce their ears, they're going to get it. Go with them. Go pick out the right ones. You know, make sure they're doing it right. They want to get tattoo? Sure. Go with them. Make sure the tattoo artist is a good one. You know, like you teach them how to find the way to do it right.
Yeah.
Right? How to do it safely.
It's better to be able to give your input from being this older experienced person rather than like the only other input that they're getting is from their friends.
Right. And I don't care what my kids do at that age as long as they're responsible.
Yeah.
Right? Like I don't care if you smoke weed. You better do it responsibly. You better know when to stop or when to go, like what you can do with it, and just be responsible. That's all I care about. You know what I mean? Like you're going to do what you want. So you just got to make the right decisions.
I mean, I might still try to persuade them not to do anything, but if they're going to, at least, yeah, I would tell them to be more responsible or just to be around us, if anything.
Yeah, I would be like, okay, well, let's go smoke in the garage right now, and I'll show you how to do it the right way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you don't need to take like 5 blunts. Just take one little hit the good way and you'll know. But you know what I'm saying? Like as long as we teach them things, and I was saying this is what I'm saying, like the story that I'm making up is going to happen.
It's kind of like a worst case scenario because we knew how it was growing up, and if there are certain pressures, like at least we can be there to support them so that they can make right decisions.
Yeah, if it's a lost cause and I have no other choice, this is what I'm gonna do.
Oh man.
You know what I'm saying? So but basically that's how it was for me when I moved out. You know, I did so much stuff, and I felt so good when I moved out because I'm like, yes, now I can do whatever I want. And it wasn't just like doing bad things. It was just making decisions on my own. Like
just having the freedom to make your own choices.
Yeah. Like I want to go eat In-N-Out right now. You know what I mean? I want to go eat it at midnight with my friends. I want to be able to fix up my car. without
Yeah.
my parents saying stuff about my car. Things like that. I want to do whatever I wanted, right? I want to buy clothes. I want to do things.
I think it's the same for everyone.
Right. So, but because I was so young when I moved out, and I was the first one, my brothers who are like 5, 6 years older than me, right? The 5.5, so it's almost 6 years older than me. They were still living at home. One of them lived at home until he was like 30 something. Okay.
I feel like that's pretty normal nowadays.
Right. So I know so many Asian friends or Asian family members who stayed at their parents' house till they're in their like mid-30s. And it wasn't until like they moved out because they decided to either get their masters out of state or they got a job out of state. That's when they moved out. When they were forced into the situation of that. And so for me, during that whole time between I was 18 and I would say my late 20s, I probably moved back home multiple times. So like I would move out when I'm 18 and I would do it for like maybe 2 years. And then, you don't live with that friend anymore. And then at the phase, no one else is moving out.
Okay, so when your lease is over, then
when your lease is over, you're like, okay, what am I going to do? Am I going to live by myself or am I going to wait till my friend said he's ready next year?
So
right?
when you're doing that and you're moving between your parents' house and other places, are you just bringing some of your belongings with you and leaving the majority of them at your parents' house still and your room was still the same?
Pretty much, because I would, every so often go home, eat and whatever, because my parents want me home.
Yeah.
And then I would grab things little by little because I only live like 30 minutes away.
Yeah.
Right. So I would be home pretty often, but then there would be the times where I'm like, all right, I'm taking a break from moving out to move back to my parents' house because I have no one to live with. Right? I don't want to live by myself. That's just crazy. Because my first time I moved out, it was a 1-bedroom apartment, and the person we shared a bedroom together, and so we both had our beds in the room together.
That's interesting. Like next to each other.
It was he had one wall and he had the other side of the wall. And what's crazy is that you move out to be independent and to have your own space, but I moved out and shared a room with a friend.
Yeah, and that's why like I feel like I wouldn't want I wouldn't want our kids to go through that. Like I'd rather them be at home and comfortable, having their own rooms.
But we were comfortable, so we would be in this like 400 to 500 square feet apartment, and the rent was $800 a month, and we would split it 400.
Yeah.
And then in the living room, we'd have like 3 or 4 friends sleeping over like all the time.
Yeah. If you're staying at your parents' house, you can't really do that.
You can't do any of that, So, like it's just we're playing video games till 2 a.m. It's like nothing crazy, right? That's all you do. Go on a 7-Eleven midnight run, stuff like that. And so, when everyone had to go their separate ways and there's no one to live with at the time, right? I'll move home and I'll be comfortable for a year, save up a little bit. And then a friend would be like, hey, you want to move out? Like, cool, let's go get a house together, or a condo together.
So knowing that this is what you went through growing up, like, how is it that you would want your son to grow up? Like, would you want to keep them home or would you want them to go through the same thing because you want them to like learn at an earlier age?
I think I want my kids home so I can guide them to avoiding mistakes that I went through. I think the biggest mistakes, like I said earlier, was the financial mistakes, right? So if they move out, that's fine, but don't throw all your money away into these experiences. Like I want to show my kids, look, with the money that we're saving that you're going to work for, I can help pay for your college. You don't have to pay for that. But because you have money, because you have a job to pay for your food and car, the other money needs to be invested. Because if you don't invest your money, you're going to have a very hard journey. And that's what we've been through. How hard do I grind and hustle all the time? Right? I've gotten to the point where one time I was going to school from 4 a.m. and then I got off at 2 p.m. And then
going to school?
Yep.
At 4 a.m?
4 a.m. to 2 p.m. It was culinary school. So they have 3 different schedules. Early birds, your morning, and then your afternoon classes. And I did the 4 a.m. classes because I had two jobs. So I had a daytime job, and then I also had an evening job working at a restaurant, and that restaurant would close at 4 a.m. And so when I get off work at 4 a.m., I go straight to school at 4 a.m. Right? So the mistakes that I had was to be able to go to school and live on my own with friends.
You had to work.
I had to work two jobs,
Yeah.
go to school, and also sell drugs at my jobs
That's crazy.
because school is expensive now,
Right.
right?
Yeah. And that's with your parents helping you with school too.
Yeah. But because now you're going from sharing a 1-bedroom apartment with a friend to now you guys have like a 3-bedroom condo,
Right.
right? So it's really expensive. You're talking about like $1,000 a month, right? One job takes care of that.
Yeah, so I feel like the balance with that, it's like if you want to have your kids stay at home, then it's allowing them to have more freedom. Like if they want to have friends over, if they want to stay out late, if they want to stay up late, we can't control them as much. And then like if we want them to know the financial responsibility part, yeah, like we can have them save their money that they're working with, like to go into investments, but we can also have them like pay for part of the mortgage or something too, just so that they kind of know that responsibility. And I think a good idea would be, you have them pay for the mortgage, and then eventually when they decide to move out, like we can either give them that money back or
Yeah, I love that idea.
Yeah.
I would love to do that. You start paying me some rent, and then they don't know that when they move out, we'll give them the money back.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I really love that part. I think what's hard is that the Asian culture, our parents at that time of our life, those generations, it was more of like, hey, save money, go to school, things like that, get a good job, but save money is
Right.
what they always say.
Right.
Okay. Well, throughout those 10 years they said that, I had no idea what I was saving money for. What am I saving money for? For what? Right? You didn't say go get a house.
Yeah.
You didn't say for anything. So
I think it's more to just be expected, right? Because eventually the goal is to meet someone, get married, have kids, or get a house and then have kids.
But I want to tell my kids, save money to buy a business, save money to buy some stocks, save money to buy a house. There has to be reasons of why to save money. And I think our parents forgot to say those things. But it's different because they just want us to be comfortable and happy. And that's why they left their country to come here so we could have a good life.
Yeah, and that's probably, you would think that with everything that they went through and the journey to get here, that they would want their kids to be more independent. But I think because they went through that, they don't want the kids to go through that. So they're like, oh, we're going to shelter you more and keep you safe and protect you.
Right. They went through the extreme survival mode.
Yeah.
Right. Coming over to America. They literally went through survival mode.
Exactly.
So now the kids, they're not thinking of survival mode. They're like, oh, we did it. We did it for them. Now they can just enjoy their life. So they don't think about money at all, right? They just think about just one day this person needs to have a good job, get married, and have grandkids, and that's it.
Yeah, because I think for them knowing that they came here with like only a few dollars in their pockets, that as soon as they moved out here, they're going to start saving money and keep working, and like they never stopped working hard,
Yeah.
So I think for them, their responsibility was making sure that they had enough money to take care of the kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So guess how many times, I got to think about this too, the right answer, but guess how many times I moved back and forth from my parents' house to my own places.
No idea.
Let's see. My first time was an apartment, and then I moved home. And then got a condo, and then I moved home. Then I got a house, and then I moved home. Those are all rentals. So that's 3 times I moved back home.
Yeah.
Between 18 and like 25. So the last time I moved back home was actually kind of like a blessing. So I think I was like 25. This was after renting out a house, and I just broke up with my long-term relationship girlfriend, my last ex-girlfriend, and I moved back home, and then I started a business with my dad. Then we opened up a restaurant. I became an investor, and I worked there every single day for the next like 2 years
Yeah.
of my life.
And that was around the time that I met you.
A year after living at home and doing that business of just straight focusing, then I met you. So like that year that I moved home and started a business with my dad and worked at the business every single day for that year, that's what I think I wish I had when I was 18. And that was when I was
Gotcha.
25.
Yeah, well, I think because when you're younger, your mindset is a little bit different, right? Because you were just sheltered too, so all you wanted to do is just go out and do all these things that you didn't get to do and party.
Yeah, I didn't want to do anything with my parents pretty much.
Yeah,
Right.
and I feel like that's something that I don't want to happen with the kids because like I went crazy and wild when I was
Yeah,
finally
so
able
did
to get
I.
out of the house.
Yep.
So I want them to like slowly experiment and experience things and not feel so sheltered. So then when they get to that point where they're more independent and they can move out, they don't necessarily have to, but at least their mindset and their goals and their expectations of like reality will be more realistic.
I think most kids who stay home for a long time is because they have the freedom to do what they want at home.
Yes.
They have no reason to move out,
right.
right? We had reasons to move out.
Mm-hmm.
We needed a life, right? So, when I met you, and then eventually, when you were a serious girlfriend, then you moved in,
Mm-hmm.
and we were living with my parents,
Right.
right?
Yep.
And then when we got married, we were still living with my parents.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this is not normal I would say, in the American culture.
Definitely not, because I feel like most people in the American culture would have moved out and just got their own place.
When it became a serious relationship
Yeah.
already, it's like,
Yeah.
okay, let's go move in together, find a place,
Yes.
and then let's either get married or buy a house, right? And for us, it was like we didn't even think about buying a house.
Yeah, we didn't have to.
Yeah, we had a business. We were living with my parents, and we got married, and we continued living with my parents for another 3 years.
And I feel like your parents were happy with us being there too. Like they started doing all these things to the house because you guys moved from one house to another during the time of our relationship. And then we're in this room. And I think they tried to make it so comfortable for us to live there that they expanded our room.
Yeah.
Just so that we can like feel comfortable.
Yeah, my dad spent 20 grand to do an addition to the house where it became a bedroom for us, to having like a living room, office, and a bedroom, like kind of like a master suite.
Yeah.
Right? And so, and this was even before we got married.
Yeah.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
Now that I think back on it, I'm like, how weird was that? Like, we were living with my parents for like 4 years. 1 as boyfriend and girlfriend, and 3 as married.
So I guess it kind of made sense because when we got married, I was working like 10 minutes away, right?
Yeah.
And the commute was just easier. And to your mom, she was just like, why don't you guys just stay here longer? And then because you just opened up the liquor store and you were never home, you were working there all the time.
Yeah, I would come home and sleep for like 4 hours.
Yeah.
And go back.
Yeah, so like your parents, they would kind of look after me, like after I'm done going to the store and making sure you're okay, then I would come back after working, right?
Yeah.
And then your parents will be making sure that like we're fed, and that we're okay. So because your parents never had a daughter, and I think your mom loved the fact that I was home and I was like a daughter to her.
Yeah.
So, you know, she just loved, I feel like she liked having the company of us being there.
Literally the 4 years that we lived together at my parents' house, you were home more than me.
Yeah. And I think I actually liked it because going from living at my parents' house and then moving in with you and then you not being home, at least like I'm not in my own place by myself. You know, I had people to talk to and I had the company and stuff.
I think that was the real reason why we stayed there.
Mm-hmm.
It was one, because if we got our own place, I wouldn't be home.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
And then, so what was the point of me wasting money on rent or mortgage if I wasn't home?
Yeah, and I think for us too, like we didn't really want to spend the money to rent. We were just kind of trying to save up because we were both working all the time too, to try to save up for our own place.
So, man, I think that's the main reason why we lived at home with our parents, right? The Asian culture, it's really to save money. Um, and and when I talk to a lot of clients of mine, when I
Mm-hmm.
sell them a home, it's usually these daughters who have saved up so much money from living with their parents that now we're gonna go look for a home and buy one for their parents.
Mm.
It's amazing, you know? And so I wish we could do that, right? But we weren't so fortunate with money to be able to do that
Right.
at the age, right? So I'm hoping one day we can still uh, pay off our parents' mortgages. That's the goal. And I think we're almost there.
Yeah.
Almost there. So that's why when you ask me, why do you work so hard all the time? Aren't you happy? Aren't you satisfied? No, because I haven't paid off my parents' mortgage yet. You know what I mean? Like our parents, they pay for everything for us, right? They did everything for us. And
Yeah.
the least we can do is give them a life as well. So that's one of the main reasons why I work so much, you know. But going back to, staying at my parents' house and things like that, 4 years after living with them, right? 3 years of being married, we decided to get our own house.
Mm-hmm.
We finally moved out. And this is when we moved out forever,
Yeah.
right? You never went back home. I never went back home. That was it. That was like, I think I was 28 at the time.
I think so. Yeah.
Right.
So that was around the time that the average time that people move out.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
for good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, we went from going from one house to now our third house.
Yeah, just a lot of temporary homes until we found our kind of
Well,
forever home, starter home.
We never, I mean,
Mm-mm.
we always think that these homes we buy are going to be like, okay, I think we can live here for 5 years. I think we can live here for 20 years and things
Yeah.
like that. So we didn't
But-
think they're going to be temporary, like 2 years move, 4 years move. And
Yeah, well, I guess I'm just talking about like renting and stuff or just like being at other people's houses. Because, yeah, that's how it was for me. Either I'm staying at a guy's house or I'm staying at my best friend's house.
why is that? Why do girls always stay at guys' houses?
I think it's more of the comfort and wanting the company and just not wanting to be home,
Yeah.
because you can be out spending time somewhere else too, but then at the same time, your parents probably want you home too. So the easiest thing to do is just to stay at your house, right? Better than going out late at night, going to get boba because it's dangerous to our parents and they would rather have us at home together rather than somewhere else.
All right. So how was the feeling when you officially never went back to your parents' house?
I mean,
And how did your parents feel about that? Or do they even know?
I think they were happy and they kind of got used to me not being at home already when I was staying with you at your parents' house,
Yeah.
So they're already like used to it. But knowing that we're getting a house, I think they were happy because it was another milestone that we're hitting,
Yeah.
So I think to them it was more of an accomplishment, and knowing that, I was able to do this on my own and not having to get like pushed or encouraged to go do something else, if that makes sense. Yeah. I think from a daughter standpoint, they were very proud of me for being able to like live the American dream.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I don't know. My parents maybe my dad felt okay that I was being independent. I don't think my mom liked it. Remember this one time we went to Vegas with some friends, right? And then my friend's parents were with us as well. And then my parents and his parents would hang out and go to dinner or whatever and stuff like that. And then my friend told me later on that my mom cried and saying that I was a bad kid.
What? When was this? When we were
This,
together?
No,
before that?
probably right before that. This
Oh
was
my
like
gosh.
in my 20s.
Wow.
Yeah.
What did you do?
At that age, nothing really. It was just me living on my own and maybe in denial of me,
Maybe
selling
she knew
drugs.
you were doing drugs. She knew you were selling drugs. You got a tattoo.
Oh,
Like,
she for sure knew that I was doing drugs
Yeah.
because she could smell the weed on me.
I
when
would
come
cry
home.
too and
Yeah.
say the same thing if it was our kids, Because
Yeah.
to them, they're like, why are we here in the U.S. and trying to give our kids a good life? And this is what they're doing. You know what I
Well,
mean?
so here's the hardest thing is like I said, I'm not doing bad things to do more bad things. It was to keep up.
Yeah, but
You know
to
what I
them,
mean?
they're not gonna think that way because
So-
they're like, if we came here with zero money in our pocket and we did things the legit way, why do you have to resort to selling drugs?
So here's the thing, okay? Now, if I continue living where I was in middle school or elementary school, I think I would have been okay, being more normal, right?
Be in a normal area.
Right. But now that they moved to Arcadia, where it was
Oh.
filled with rich families in
Yes.
multi-million dollar homes, and we're not those type of people, but the kids going to the school have a lot of money and things like that. So my friends at the time have money, and for me to keep up, I had to find money, right?
So you can have better outfits, better.
No, it wasn't. I didn't care about the clothes.
Oh, I see.
It was just to keep up and hang out.
Oh, like with their lifestyle.
Right. So
Got
for
it.
example, it's like if every day we're gonna go hang out and get boba,
Yep.
well, I need money for boba.
Yeah, it was
know what I
very
mean?
it was very different
How
because
else am I gonna get money for boba?
Yeah.
Right? If I'm gonna go to a party or to a club, how else am I gonna have money to do that?
yeah,
right?
because when I met you, it was kind of like a shock because you were still friends with these Arcadia people, and just knowing how the lifestyle was with them compared to like what I was used to also because I didn't grow up having money.
Yeah.
And then it was like always thinking about how much we're spending, going out all the time, and how much stuff they would buy and all
Right.
these things. And I'm like, whoa, like there's not a care in the world. Like they just
That's what
want
I'm
to go
saying.
everywhere.
And you don't know any better at that age. This
Yeah.
is all you know
You're like-
because you're starting your life with these friends, right?
Yeah.
And people always say, well, you can say no, you could have got a job and focus on this and that. No, I didn't have the guidance. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like, I thought what I was doing was the right thing, right? So even in my early 20s, it's like the friends say, let's go to Vegas and party,
Mm-hmm.
you know? And I'm like, sure, what are we gonna do? You know, after the first time, you're like, cool, you get a room, you guys share the room, like 10 people in one room, right? That's fine, that's affordable.
Yeah, and they want to
But-
get the nice rooms too, though.
But then they want to get the nice rooms.
And the premium
And
alcohol.
then they want to go to the club.
Yeah.
And they want to buy a table for the club. And everyone's like, well, some of us are like, I'm not paying for a table.
Yep, I remember
And
those
then,
days.
so they would pay, certain ones would pay for the table, right?
That's crazy.
But now every time you go to Vegas, and that happens every time, I'm at the point where like, hey guys, I'm not going to go.
Yeah.
You know, so I started doing that. Like, hey, I'm not going to go. I'm just going to stay back. And they'd be like, no, you got to go. You got to go. And I'm like, all right, fine. If I go, I'm going to bring this box of cup of noodles and I'm going to bring my hot water thermos thing with that dispenses hot water. And when you guys go eat at these expensive ass places, I'm going to eat the cup of noodles in the room with this hot water machine. And then I can join you at the club after or whatever, you know, but that's how it's going to be if I have to go with you.
Yeah.
And they're like, all right, let's go. I'm like, fine. You know what I mean? So it even got to the point when I was living with my friend and our friends would come over all the time, right? And they would eat everything that we had, our food, right? You know how hard it is to buy your own food.
Yes.
And this is why I'm saying I had to have a job and sell drugs and have a second job if I needed it, because one job pays for rent, one job pays for food, and the other job pays for going out and having fun.
And
right?
if you're always having friends over, you kind of have to host them and feed them.
Well, I mean, they're fucking hungry. What are
Yeah.
you gonna do? They're like, hey, you have anything to
I
eat? I'm
know.
so hungry because, you know,
And especially because you guys were smoking weed too, so obviously you're all gonna be hungry.
right. So it's like I started hiding my cup of noodles in closets so they wouldn't eat my dinners.
I would probably do that
you know,
too.
because
Yeah.
I would buy, you know, like boxes of mac and cheese, and all of a sudden those are gone. I'm like, what the fuck happened to my food? Like, this is just mac and cheese, right?
Yeah,
So,
but that's what we grew up eating. So
I know, and I was okay with that, but it was just
Yeah.
like, damn, dude, like I bought this for me to survive, you know. So times were tough, man. Like,
So more of the story is try to keep our kids home for as long as we can.
yeah, and then screen their friends, no matter how nice they
Yes.
are they the right fit for your kids? Because they might not be the right fit.
And I think that starts now because if our kid, we have to listen to our kids. So when they're coming home, they're so excited to tell us stories about their friendships and things that
No.
happen. So we have to be able to listen to them and understand why certain kids did certain things. And if it's things that we don't approve of, then we have to be like, hey, well, if you're not okay with something, you got to stop talking to them.
So here's the thing: when I had those friends, They were the nicest people in the world.
Mm-hmm.
My parents loved them. They're very responsible. They're very nice. They took care of me, right? And so my parents loved it. They thought it was the right fit. And I can say as they were the right fit at the time because the way they lived their lives carefree with the money, and they were actually doing big things in life and buying businesses and stuff because they had money. I always thought, how am I going to get that type of money to do those things or just to keep up? So that's why I hustled so hard and I worked so hard. Can you imagine going to culinary school or any school at 4 a.m. right after you got off work at 4 a.m. from a restaurant, being a bus boy? And then after, so here's my day. 4 a.m., go to school. 2 p.m., go to my day job. 7 p.m., go to my night job. And in between, also sell drugs. Right? So, like, that hustle mentality started me of like, okay, now how do I get out of this life once I graduate to now how do I open a restaurant? How do I open up a business? How do I do all these things? And I think if it wasn't for those friends living the way they did, would have not given me the fire and passion to do my own things.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If I had friends who were like, everyone just had day jobs and office jobs, that's probably what I'd be doing now. Still.
True. I feel like a lot of those friends also had the support of their family also, and they actually had them to guide them, the ones that had the money and stuff.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, because their family was teaching them how to run businesses.
Yeah, so that's good that actually the way you guys grew up were so different, and you knew that their money was kind of almost they grew up with it, right? But then at the same time, it still pushed you to try to get to that point rather than getting discouraged and saying, "Oh well, like I don't have it."
I think there was 5 of us in the group of friends, and all 5 of us were dropouts.
Well, college isn't for everyone.
And here's
I've learned that now.
Here's what happened with the 5. One has a lot of money. Another one is like filthy rich. One just has a normal job and doesn't really do much because his closest friend passed away. And then there's me.
Yeah.
So, more than half of us are doing well, and the other one's not so fortunate. But yeah, what we've learned from this episode is guide your kids to the right direction and help them. They're going to do what they want, and that's fine. Be there for them through that process.
Yeah, and don't push them. I mean, I wouldn't push them to grow up too fast without showing them the stepping stones of how to get to certain things.
Is this a good thing about babying your kids? So like right now we kind of baby Enzo.
Yeah.
And does that mean, because he always looks for us.
Yeah.
So now when he's 18, is he always going to look for us?
No, because right now we're doing it because he's only 4. But as he gets older, he's going to become more independent. We have to teach him to be more independent. And that's what I'm slowly doing now because I see how attached he is to me.
But I want him to be attached to us at 18 and come to us at 18 and ask us questions.
Well, I would love him to, but I don't want him to feel babied or sheltered. Like he has to be independent enough to be able to make his own decisions and not just rely on us all the time. That is something I don't want to do. Or else he's going to be one of those guys that end up staying with us until he's like in his 30s,
If he does that, he better have like 20 homes.
No, he's not staying in our house until he's in his 30s.
And one of those homes better be for us.
Yeah, no.
So there's got to be a balance, and we got to find that balance. And we're learning as parents through what we went through as kids. So I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. This was a really interesting episode for all you parents out there and young kids out there. I don't know. You guys just got to listen to your kids, and that's the only way. So make sure you guys follow us on Love and Rice Podcast on all podcast platforms. We got Apple, Amazon, Google, iHeartRadio. I know I'm missing one. Then we got YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. So follow us, Love and Rice Podcast, guys. Comment down below where you listen. Well, actually, if you comment below, I know you're listening on YouTube because that's where you can comment. But comment down below what topics you guys will like. And we'll see you on the next episode of Love and Rice.
Bye-bye.